You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Okay.
You know, it's a good thing I've got my yogi breath going.
Your breath of the yogic fire.
Yeah, so I can like do that really slow, long inhale to not make any sounds. And before you would be like, okay, and I'd be like, and now I'm like, I'm cool.
Yes. How much do you think, this is the question we're asking right off the bat. How much do you think control, not breath control, but like breath awareness has changed for you? Not just like how much, will you turn on that light? That might be nice. If we actually turn on the light in the room. There we go.
Dun, dun, dun.
How much breath has helped you?
How much breath is crucial to my life.
Like the added
I say
awareness.
It's like the biggest pillar. I need air more than food and water.
You know, out of all
breath
the things
has
that
really
I've done,
made a difference.
I feel
for
like
my
breath
existence.
is the thing that's really helping me.
From my first breath out of the womb, breath and I have had an intimate relationship.
But the awareness, right?
Yeah, the awareness is big.
All the focus that you and I have placed on breath work and bringing awareness to our breath and reminding ourselves to breathe and all of these kind of different things over the last several years.
Yes.
What do you feel like is the biggest impact for you?
It's really the self of accomplishment. I was going to try and make a joke and it didn't come out because, so the truth is the just the calmness that I can bring in, how much I can like recognize that the way I breathe controls what my body feels. And I don't always have awareness of it though. Like there's times I'm just like, like bringing myself into a panic. But there's been times in panic where I use my breath to calm me. And I don't know, I just think it's that whole like bottom up scenario where the way that you breathe can absolutely, I don't know if you want to say dictate your emotions, but it's a very strong impact. Bring you out of anxiety, can also put you in anxiety. So there's certain breath that we do that is like breath of fire that can bring up that anxiety. And I guess in a sense, it's helping you manage while you're in that state as well. I like breath. I'm a breath girl.
What are you into? Breathing.
What are you into?
Breathing.
Oh, look at that. We got something in common. Let's
The reason
breathe together.
I think about it is because we're starting, we're going to be teaching yoga in person again, which we're super excited about. And that's starting next week. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
Next week.
yeah.
We're ready.
We are ready.
We are.
Shout out to Athens Jiu-Jitsu
Yes.
in Tennessee. Athens, Tennessee. That's where we live now. We don't live in Athens. Anyways.
That's where
we're teaching yoga.
Teaching yoga.
We're very excited. And I'm thinking about every time we talk about breath in yoga class, like when we're teaching it and the importance of breath and like try to give reminders to breathe and to all these kind of things, right? I feel like everybody is just like, whatever.
Yeah, breath.
They're like, yeah, breathe. And then everybody still like does the really shallow breath up in their chest and they're not
only.
fully down into their belly and their diaphragm and everything like that. And it's got me thinking about like, imagine the world where as children, like instead of PE class being, kickball, it's learning how to breathe correctly.
Or dodgeball.
Right.
Teaching you how to like fear your classmates whose
fight for your life.
Goal is to annihilate you. It's terrible.
But what if from that very young age, we were taught how to breathe from that entire, the entire system that our body is designed with, right? The diaphragm and the lungs and the whole 9 yards, rather than just all this really shallow activated breathing. What if breath was acceptable? What if breath was okay?
Right.
I think so much about the reason it made me also think was yesterday we tried to record and we had to take a break because our son needed a ride home from school. He didn't feel well. And I had like all of this frustration that was coming out. And part of the way that I was taught to signal to the world around me that I'm upset is with my breath.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. Like that is a subconscious thing that takes place where if I'm upset,
it's a way to be passive aggressive.
Right. Well, it's not even like the conscious thought of like, I'm going to passively aggressively express there's nothing conscious about it. It's just the way that I was taught to show emotion. If I'm upset, right, breath will be used to express it in a way that alerts those around me. Oh, this person is upset.
Right. Listen to the way they're breathing.
Yeah. Now I need to protect myself from this person, right? Because I can remember very clearly, like if my dad's upset, you can tell by the way he's breathing.
Oh yeah.
Or the way he's not breathing.
That rings true.
Right?
Yeah.
So then I just model that same behavior as an adult subconsciously. So it was, the nice thing was you gave me this space to just kind of throw this, not even a tantrum, I would say. I wasn't like outwardly throwing a fit. And you're like, yeah, you were. But I was expressing all of this kind of frustration and emotion. And I just got it all out. Like I expressed it all, you know, over the course of 5 or 10 minutes while we were driving down there to pick him up. And then I was done. And I didn't feel ashamed for that. I didn't feel like I couldn't. I didn't feel judged or criticized. It was just, I got to process all of that without anything else on top of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And it made the biggest difference.
Yay.
Like normally I would have, like, this is how that scenario would normally play out in our relationship.
Let's hear it. See how accurate you are. I'm
Something-
judging already.
Like we were in the middle of recording,
Yes.
right? So we were like 15 minutes into an episode that will
Which
never
was
see
going to be the greatest episode in the world.
It is. It was. It'll never see the light of day now. And so we're in the process of recording, and then we get interrupted.
The phone rings.
Right? And then we have to push pause and go pick up our son. Now, yes, we could have come back and started recording again and everything. But anyways, just the momentary, not even the momentary, but the unexpected thing interrupting the thing that I thought we were doing, right? The disruption caused me to become irritable. Now, normally I would have passively aggressively expressed all of that irritation over the course of like the next several hours, and you would have tried to like take care of that in a sense. Like you would try to, it's like the visual that I get is we're walking and I'm walking very angrily, stomping around, and you're running in front of me trying to get everything out of the way so I don't kick anything or stub my toe or trip over anything. So then you're like running in front of me, you know, clearing the path and then coming back behind, and I'm still like stomping around, and then you run in front and try to clear the path and
removing the innocent bystanders.
Yeah.
Any further activations, and
all of that would take place over several hours and could potentially kind of spoil the day away.
Yeah.
And instead it was like 4 or 5 minutes, well, maybe longer, maybe 10 minutes of me just venting and being frustrated and breathing heavily and sighing and, you know, grunting around and being pissed off for a minute. And then we just moved on.
Yeah.
And that felt so much better than the alternative and the things that we've done in the past.
Good.
So you did a really good job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I was very grateful for you in that experience.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Well, that's all we wanted to jump on and share with you today.
That was our day.
That was the extent of this podcast
A day
episode.
in the life of Craig and stuff.
I was wondering if you wanted to get back into some of that stuff that was coming up yesterday when we were trying to record. Because I know that there was a lot there.
Yeah. We can try that.
You want to give it a shot?
I'll try that. Yeah. I don't know how to like recap. Like I was so...
We don't have to recap. Just
like,
dive into it.
Yeah. I was like set on picking up where we left off. So that's where my brain is like, it's like I've said all that stuff now. Where we left off was here. But I don't know how... Actually, I don't know how relevant that is. I don't like the conversation. I feel like will be weird if I'm just like, and picking up from...
Some of the things...
I don't know.
Like the thing
Maybe we just let it go and just move on to something else.
Okay.
Or I don't know.
What would you like to move on to? Well, I started it off with, I wanted to hear about what was really in your space.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear about what you were dealing with and facing
That's
kind
right.
of in your own personal process journey of this beautiful life that we have, the healing that's taking place.
And I was just on like the book.
Yeah.
Because that's where I was at. So that's the only place I knew how to pick up from.
the
That's funny.
artists or what's the name of the book?
Yeah, it's The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
By, I think it's Julia Cameron.
Do you want me to look it up while you...
No, I'll look it up. Because I can just open it. As long as my phone wants to like open. Yeah, it's by Julia Cameron. There's two. Oh my gosh. There's two. I'm doing the audiobook. There's two. And I can't tell the difference yet. And I don't know if it's something that is like eluding, like it's just not clear, or if it's just something that my brain can't pick up the subtle differences. One's 10 hours, one's 3 hours. And it's the same book. It's the same everything. It's not like the abridged version or, Cliff Notes. It's not that. So I don't understand. I've got the other one on hold too. But the 3-hour one came available first. I'm like, sweet.
And that's the one you're going
That's
through
the one
first?
I'm listening to first. And it's super, super interesting. I'm going to do the 10-hour one too. But it's also like reading out. I don't know. I feel like it's making sense, not just a Cliff Note part. I can tell that it is moving fast, so I'm sure the other one, obviously, is going to have 7 hours more content, so there'll be a little bit. But anyways, it's got this, there's this thing, because you talked about what was coming up in my space, and I was talking about issues feeling like abandonment, feeling abandoned and abandoning. So like abandonment is huge in my space, and I'm just struggling with figuring out what my role is, and figuring out like what is healthy in this situation, what is healthy. I guess you're not supposed to have expectations, but like healthy expectations, like healthy things to want, as opposed to like, I want to lean towards healthy. I want to lean towards like being an interdependent and balanced. I don't want to lean towards chaos, so I'm trying to like figure out the balance with all that, and trust, which goes into abandonment, trusting somebody's going to be there, trusting that, just trusting people. And it comes back to trusting self. And so I hope this is making sense, because I'm like, oh yeah, we talked about this, so I feel like I'm bouncing, but it's whatever.
It's making sense.
It always, like, I do that, right? I bounce all over, and then we wrap it up in the end. You just got to hang in there with me. Let me get through it, and I'll finally like make my way down there. But like one of the biggest things that has been hitting home is, it's not so much that like it used to look very outside, like I couldn't trust the world. The world was untrustworthy. The world wasn't safe. These people weren't safe. I can't trust you. I can't trust you. I can't trust you. I can only trust me. And I can't trust me. And so I was like, what am I supposed to do? What's this intuition? What's this fear? And everything was just like a very big projection out on what is safe and what is not, and what's trustworthy and what is not, for the realization and some guidance helped that I was breaking my own trust with myself, because I was always, and you've heard this, like, don't break your promises to yourself. Don't be what is negotiable. Like, make yourself a priority. And you're like, yeah, I get it. But those times that you hear it differently.
Yeah.
And I would want to do something for me, and I would find something important for me, or I would even feel like I was supposed to do this thing for me for somebody else, but I could never like stick to it. I had a really hard time sticking to things for myself, because whenever time needed to be cut in the day, whenever a decision needed to be made because somebody else needed something, first thing to go is always me. First thing, it's like, oh, I wanted to do this for me. That is absolutely where I can make up time. This is something that was important to me. This was for my health. This was for my benefit. And that's where I'm going to make up the time. So I'm not doing that anymore. I'm starting very small, and I'm making little changes that are having this huge effect. And when I come up with a new, and I'm, like I said, starting small is my key. And I got that from Atomic Habits. But making these small small changes and letting them build instead of being like, okay, I'm ready for shift. So I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to drink a gallon of water. I'm going to like spend like an hour, like here, like all of the things where it's like every goal that you want, you're like, that's what I'm implementing now. And anything less than 100% success is absolutely 100% failure, which sabotages you. So you don't keep going.
Yeah.
So instead of being like everything right now, and like that show, Everything All at Once right now, I was like one thing, one itty bitty thing. And I let that become a habit. And that really seems like to me that like I can even just like still feel that part of my soul that's like, I don't have time for this itty bitty thing. I don't have time. I need to do it all now. There's not enough time. It's like, well, there is, right? I mean, or there's not, you run out. But if you look back on all these like things, if you would have just done like this one little tiny change, what a significant difference that would have made. So that delayed, in a sense, gratification and making all these little shifts have been transformative. So I have added multiple. I have added so many little things that I have made a priority to me. I have been like, this is like, I will get this done either at this time or during the day. And I am keeping every single one of them. So I don't like add 5 at a time and I don't do one for 2 days. I'm like, it's time for more. It's just one thing that I allow another thing to trigger a reaction for. Like I wake up, brush my teeth. I don't wait till I've ate. I don't wait till I get out of the shower and it's like I wake up, brush my teeth. So that's like my trigger and how different things go on. So I have a healthy list that's growing of these habits that are helping me, but what it's like, it's helping me physically, but to come back around, it's helping me realize that I can trust myself. I'm keeping my word to myself. So I'm showing up for myself. And these little things, I'm like, I can count on me, which helps when I have to make decisions about what I'm going to do or how I'm going to show up in other places. And like, is this the right decision? Is this the wrong decision? So many of this feels like there's like a million wrong decisions to make and only one right. And if you don't make that right one, you're just... So it helps me trust myself and also realize there's a million right decisions to make. You know, everything is where you're at, but I can listen to that voice. I can listen to me because I know I'm showing up for me. So I'm cultivating a trust, loving relationship with myself by practicing these small little changes and keeping my word and not giving myself unobtainable expectations of like, you have to accomplish all of this in order for you to have any kind of worth. It's like one thing. And then when that becomes good, I add one thing, something else that sparks an interest. I add that. And that's been really like I said, it's like I'm working on trusting myself. So I quit projecting untrustworthy out in the world. And I don't subconsciously seek untrustworthy situations to further validate my story of untrustworthy world. Like, oh, boom,
That's so big, babe.
Thank you.
I love the awareness of all of that. Like the core issue, wound, whatever we want to label it, right? The core thing that you are addressing by all of these little habits every day, right? Yeah. Starting to build the trust within yourself that you're not only going to show up, but you're going to do what you said you were going to do, what you intended to do. And then it's really addressing this core issue of trust and abandonment and everything else that it's kind of stemming from in a way. That's really, really cool.
Thank you.
I've noticed it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like I've noticed all those little things to some extent. I'm sure there's plenty that I don't see and that I don't recognize or anything, but I think it's really neat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm still learning how, there's still lots of work to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea that there's a million right decisions, right? Where it's not a matter of stuck in the indecisiveness because if I choose the wrong decision, then all of these negative consequences are going to happen. And next thing you know, the world ends because I didn't, pick the right broom for the new house or something.
He's not making that. He didn't pull that from the ethers. There was I was frozen.
It was a mop.
What do I get?
It wasn't a broom. It was a mop. We had to pick a new mop, and it was challenging.
That was what broke me. I don't know why. We finally made it to Tennessee. Here we go. And I'm like, this is the mop for the new house and our new life. And that was just my moment of like,
it's only the one mop.
Oh my God. And
the one mop to rule them all.
Right. And I don't know if I had a mop that I liked in my head and it wasn't there. And so then I had to choose from all of these things that wasn't what I thought I was going to pay. Happened. Things didn't go the way I thought they were going to go. And I had to make new decisions. But in that moment, in that Walmart, I don't know how long we were there, but I was like, oh, this is it.
I think one of the things that I've practiced for a really long time, even just within my own mindset and my thought processes, that there aren't any wrong decisions.
Yeah.
That there just isn't. Regardless of what choice I make, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Even when it's one that I would clearly judge as wrong. There's definitely decisions and choices that I could make, or that I used to make, or that over the course of my life I've made that are super clearly the wrong decision in the moment. But even those decisions were the right decision. And I think it's less about wrong or right, that the decision itself isn't wrong or right. It is simply a choice made on the path that is always the right path. You're always headed in the right direction and you're always going towards the right thing, because your life is always this beautiful gift, regardless of how we perceive it. So it's less about, is this decision right or wrong, and more about just the reminder that there is no right or wrong decision. It's just the journey of this beautiful life.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Yeah. It's hard when you judge yourself so much. And you're like, but I did this and then all of this happened. And if I would have done this, it's those shoulds. I should have and I shouldn't have, which frees you so much in the moment. That's so hard. That's so hard.
The inner critic.
Yeah. The inner critic and the external critic. You create those situations to where you put yourself in a situation to where the outside voices match the inside, which just furthers that narrative, which doesn't break you out of those cycles. It keeps you in them because you're validating that voice as opposed to being like, yeah.
I had some awareness for myself this past week or something. I don't remember exactly when, but it's the relationship dynamic that I have played out over the course of my entire life, where I am the rescuer of the person in need. I don't know if I need to explain it further than that. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
That dynamic that plays out where...
If we had a soundboard right now, it would be that Bonnie Tyler, I Need a Hero song.
I need a hero.
Yeah. That would be coming on. And here's Craig.
That's a good song.
It is a good song.
I can't get that out.
It's all right. We'll blast it when we're on the podcast. Yeah.
What movie is that from?
I actually...
Probably 100 different movies.
Right? I can just I just know the song because it not only is it this is the role of the so if we're going to go binary here, because that's how it was intended when it came out, but that is the role of the man, and then that is what every woman wants. Right? That is the roles that it puts out there. You need to be rescued.
Yes.
And only the hero is worthy and has to come in. So it's you have to rescue me or you don't get the prize.
Exactly.
And I'm such a helpless individual. I need. So anyway, so keep going.
Yeah. So that dynamic, right? That story that has been told over and over and over again, and then is interwoven into our society. And then the only way that I receive love is if I'm rescuing. That's the only way. There is no other way. It's something that I've had a lot of awareness of, and it's something that I've worked on a great deal in regards to our relationship, and then also the processing of my past relationships and seeing how that dynamic has played out in my like romantic relationships with women. And then I don't remember how long ago, it's only been a few years, but recognizing that it also is how I basically treat all relationships, not just romantic relationships or the relationships that I'm in. It's all relationships. The only way that I feel worthy of love or valued or really just like have worth in general is if I am fulfilling that role, right? And it was reminded, I got a refresher.
That's a good way to look at that.
Right.
I like that verbiage. I got a refresher on this lesson.
That was
That's beautiful.
right.
I freaking love that.
Yeah, there was some updates to that lesson plan that the universe went ahead and rolled out for me this week.
A little continuing education over here.
Yeah, they had made some modifications to their PowerPoint, and I just needed a refresher.
Go through the class again, yeah.
Exactly. So I went through that course, got a real quick refresher on it, and
this is like lighting me up. I love that terminology. Like you're onto something. A refresher. We just got a refresher, not a setback.
Nope.
A refresher.
Just a refresher.
That is like the most beautiful truth of it.
Right. The universe just said, hey, we changed up some things because you, first off, we recognized some things that maybe you missed the first time around. And we just wanted to give you a little refresher on this.
Right.
So we're going to play this out for you. You get to be a participant in this course. It's an interactive course where you get to, experience it firsthand. And so that came through. And that was something that was challenging for me because it wasn't in our relationship. It wasn't like me rescuing you from something, even though that still plays out like all the time. And it's something that I have to like continually address it. Like in our relationship, the way that plays out is you're like, I can't find my phone. Where's my phone? And I'm like, dun, 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 dun. I'll say, I know where your phone is, baby. I've hid it from you, actually.
So I can see. We're going to circle back to this, but keep going with where you were.
Don't like make a mental note. Okay. I remember as a kid. Hold on. This is just a quick side note. Okay. Sorry. I guess you don't have to make a real note. As a kid, I would hide either the TV guide or the TV remote so that when we can't find it, I could come in and find it. Say, here is the TV guide. I have found it. It was in the exact place that I had hid it earlier in the day, knowing that this pattern would play out and I would receive the praise of finding the TV remote or the TV guide.
Okay.
So I learned, I don't hide your phone.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, how come, like, you are the one that is like, people are like, I lost this. And you're like, I'll go find it. I'm like, does it still play out?
Right.
Does it?
I don't hide them anymore. Yeah. Like that's.
You just got so good at seeing these spots that now you can just like see them. Your tactic turned into a clairvoyance. Your tactic turned into your psychic ability.
Sure, we'll call it that.
I sure hope so. You're around hiding stuff. I'm gonna like.
Isn't that interesting though, that I would do that as a kid? I had forgotten that until this moment.
That is interesting, and it also speaks a lot about the environment.
That I grew up in.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's the way that I used to seek out love and attention and everything like that as a child. But anyways. This played out this week. The refresher that I got this week was in regards to a relationship that I have with a friend. And it was very clear that I had not had to, but there was a clear dynamic in the relationship that had been played out over and over and over again over the course of our friendship that then once again just happened again, was played out again. And I fulfilled that role of like providing the support and the, just that capacity of rescuing in a sense. And like, it's very subtle and weird at times. It's hard to recognize. And it's really hard for me to see it in other relationship dynamics.
Okay.
Not just with you and me, but like with our kids. I do it with our kids too.
Yes, you do.
Where I will rescue those kids.
And then get mad at me for doing it.
Well, if you do it, I can't.
Okay. I don't care who does it as long as
Don't get in the way of me rescuing our children.
Do you notice I don't? If you're taking care of it, I let you take care of it.
It's the only way that I feel validated with their love.
Honey.
But yeah, it's such a funky, like, subtle thing that I've done my whole entire life. And so it's just the practice of, okay, I actually have way more value than just that, right? Like, of course, if you need, like, if you're drowning, I will jump in and save you. Like, I legitimately have the capacity to save your life in a variety of circumstances, right? I've like done all of that stuff before. I've applied pressure when you're bleeding. I've given you CPR to, you know, keep your heart continuing to beat.
Not me.
Not you. So I've done life-saving things before.
Yeah.
I have the capacity to show
So
up in a
much.
life-saving manner.
So much.
And that's not the reality of my life anymore.
Right? You don't need to run around giving CPR to everybody.
And I have far more other qualities that are equally, like, that's the whole thing, is just me, myself. Like, that's the thing that I'm practicing, right? Separate from anything that I can offer the world. Just me, myself is like a gift. Just who I am.
Yes.
Just me, just as I am.
You are the quality.
All I have to do is show up.
Mhm.
I don't have to be anything else. I don't have to provide anything else. I don't have to rescue. I don't have to save. I don't have to have an answer. I don't have to have a solution.
Mhm.
I don't have to find your missing item.
Yeah.
I don't have to solve the conundrum that you're facing. I don't have to do anything other than just be me.
That's right.
And that's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to be me.
Yeah.
You know, it's challenging. Because I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm all these other things. I'm only worthy of X, Y, or Z if I can find the TV guide.
Right.
But speaking of which, they really need to bring back TV guide. So I got that refresher.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think, boy. So when I look at that dynamic, right?
Of me rescuing?
Is that what we're focusing on? It's just
No, whatever. I didn't know.
well, like in that, I thought we were like what's my role in it? Instead of, but if you want me to talk about, so I'm really grateful that you are learning how valuable you are without all of the things that you do. Like, you are what's valuable. You are a gift. Your presence, you just being Craig is fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like, it is really, I'm really, really, really enjoying the fact that not only are you not doing, like, handling everything so you can like it's I don't know how to say this. I feel like I can breathe more that I get to do these things, and it's like I don't have to either not, like, I felt like it's so nice to not have to like let you handle everything. And then also like the dynamic of how it's such a delicate situation, because when you have this wound of being the rescuer, it is like, that is your role, right? And so you have this role of like, this is my responsibility. This is how I show up. And if you don't let me show up that way, it's against my role. It's against what my inner. So there's a met with a frustration. There can be a pressure of, let me do this for you, or now we're done. If I can't do this now, because this is what your body felt like it needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you go back to childhood trauma. This is how you had any kind of worth. This is how you provided a safety, because you were a necessity. So therefore you were securing your safety and your place, as opposed to, being hurt, being abandoned, being forgotten, being exiled. So like all of that makes sense. But then the other role of after you're allowed to come in and save, you're allowed to do all of these things, the natural reaction is you've exhausted yourself, because that's not anybody's role, right? So when you're doing that constantly, now you are exhausted and burnt out. And instead of being able to see, well, this wasn't my role, and like, I can take a choice and step back. It's like, you required this of me. So now it's like this, I'm mad at you because you needed this.
Right. The resentment.
Right? The resentment. But in the same hand, not allowing another choice to be made because this is your role. Like that duality, that dynamic that you had, that basically like war inside yourself that a lot of rescuers feel, like that's intense to try and go through. And then on top of it all, you can't allow anybody else to help you to come and rescue you, because that is like, that's your role. That's your role. So in the moment, and I can see all this shit in you really clearly. Like I can sit here and point because I understand this role. But in the event that you do let somebody in, what usually happens is now that person, you're gone. If you allow like that person to come in and really help you at that moment, it's either an unhealthy attachment that is only temporary, or it's an immediate detachment because somebody saw behind the curtain, because somebody helped, because you weren't able to play that role, and that is your only safety role. So then relationships abruptly like end. Whether it's a toxic, chaotic, like I'm gonna blow this fucking thing up because like I gotta somehow get my strength back, get my however it looks, like my power position in a sense, or it's just a straight up ghost. And like I don't know how to show up in this space anymore. I'm ashamed that I wasn't able to fulfill this role to rescue, or to like, however, I was the one that got rescued in this moment. And that is like, I'm not allowed to have help, because help also comes with pride. Like it just spirals out. What happens when somebody is in that position? Then they have the position of power. And how have people that have been in that position, how have they treated? Go back to inner child wound. Those people had the ability to help you. They were all you had, and they are the ones that hurt you. So of course, somebody coming in isn't going to feel safe, and you're going to resist, and you're going to go back to being the one that is here because you know you're not going to hurt me, even though you completely sabotage everything. Because you know, it's just like this dynamic is so well intended and so full of love usually, and causes and creates utter chaos when out of control, right?
Yeah.
There's a balance of showing up for people. There's a balance of showing up for yourself and for others in healthy ways. But when you're not in that balance, it is just like
it's so
dog
funny.
pile.
Right now I'm like having a difficult time because again, it's like you have articulated something that I've heard a bunch of times in a bunch of different ways. And then somehow there is some aspect of what you're saying that is, I'm hearing differently and I'm seeing differently, especially in relationships with men, like the friendships that I've had with men and all of the kind of, I'm seeing it differently now, where if I do offer, not even offer, like if I allow somebody to come in and see, this is the thing, is like there's a part of my brain that can't understand relationships outside of that binary rescuer versus the person that needs to be like the hero versus the victim, right? Like I can't, like my brain is wired to view relationships that way. And it's not even like, it's so hard for me to think of the context of just like equality in a relationship without the need to offer that, right? So if I'm going to allow somebody into my space to rescue me, there's only one option for me.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, I get to be rescued. if somebody is rescuing me, I'm the victim. And then I have another wiring that will not allow me to be a victim, right? Because of that's a deep one.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that's ingrained into that one that it's like, if I'm going to be the victim, nope, that's not an option. So I will receive the rescue only long enough, temporarily enough to, until I just blow it up. I just end that relationship or that dynamic, or, do you know what I mean? Or I will manipulate the situation so then I can then turn around and reverse the roles to then be the rescuer once again. So oftentimes I will highlight, dude, I do this all the time. This is frustrating me. I will highlight all the things that you need rescuing from. Like if I'm feeling like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I feel like
You're doing a good job. We got into a deep conversation here.
Yeah,
Keep
we did. Fuck.
going. Like
We're in
this
deep.
is,
We're in
we
deep
are,
waters.
we're in deep.
Okay. Yeah, I will subconsciously point out all the things that you need rescuing from. And I'm not just saying you. I know that I do it with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'll do. Like if I'm feeling any sort of vulnerability in regards to that kind of dynamic of rescuer, victim, what's the right, I know that we have obviously explained it so that people understand it, but what's a way to describe that relationship, the dynamic there,
I'm only focusing on right now is like what's the healthy balance of it? It's not help, rescue, or victim. It's support, and like
yeah, that would be really good. Is just to focus on
like
the healthy part of it.
Support and accountability is where I'm at. But so sorry, that's my train of thought, because that's where we are shifting to, and we have been shifting to.
Yes.
In every area, no, we still need refresher courses all the time. Unfortunately, we're not pros at this shit. And if anybody is a pro, like, hit us up. We're willing to listen. I want to learn that. I don't believe it, but I'd like to, maybe, right? Somebody's a pro. Somebody out there's got this dialed in.
This has got to play out all the time, right?
Yeah. And just in different ways. And even like when you have the hyper independence, like, I controlled everything at one point, right? I would allow rescuers into a point, just like for one thing that I need, like your role. Like I would not let, like you had to work for it. I wasn't like, oh, woe was me. I was like, fuck that. I got this. I've got this. I've got that. Don't need that. Maybe you can get a little here for this. But everything was like tailored through basically, even sexuality, like just this power that I would hold, thinking that I was in control, right? I was the not needing rescuing, not a victim. It doesn't matter how dire my situation was. But somehow, like, you came in with that role. So I had all of these defenses of nope, 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 till it was enough that you hit enough of these that I just fucking crumbled.
Right.
And then it was like you rescued on every front. And then suddenly I became incapable, my worst fear of being incapable of doing any of that myself and being completely dependent on you rescuing, which was what your goal was too, right? And then you fucking hated me for it. You were so pissed off.
So resentful, huh?
And it was so confusing. And then everything I did was wrong. It was like this dynamic, it gets so, like when you were really like bonded in this like trauma bonding loop.
When your shadows play together.
Right? It is so, and you can't see that shit.
Yeah.
You just become set on fixing the problem right here with another unhealthy mechanism, with another unhealthy tactic. So, I'll get really, really independent here. I'll get really, which is actually like avoidant. So I think this just might be like an avoidant, anxious. I don't know that it really plays out like, I mean, it does. It has those characteristics which come in so that it can feed that narrative in a sense, but I don't know what the exact words is. I don't know. I just know that like if you are caught in that loop, take a breath, Just take a breath. All you can do is just start shining some light on it, having some awareness. You cannot go in and fix everything right now. I mean, maybe you can.
A big part of it for me
like,
is
awareness.
like, I think the dynamic of, I wish I had the verbiage right now that really resonated for me. Like
I tried to talk through it.
Like the rescuer and the rescuee. That dynamic, like I
Knight
think,
in shining armor
versus the damsel in distress.
like, oh, I just need a kiss of true love. It's okay. I don't need my voice.
But I think both of those like archetypes. There we go. That's a good word.
There we go. Yeah.
That's a good word, right? The rescuer archetype versus like the victim archetype, or the one that needs rescuing. I feel like, at least for me, the rescuer side of it really stems from lack of self-confidence. And like, it's a sliding scale, right? It's not, like, the truth be told, it's not a lack of self-confidence. It's just no self-confidence.
Yeah.
It's like zero self-confidence. So the way that like the rescuer, or not the rescuer, but the way that the victim doesn't think that they have value or worth and can't accomplish anything, like that's the same, side of the same coin, right? Where it's lack of self-confidence.
Refuse to be the victim.
It's no self-confidence in their ability to do anything. So then they have to rely upon the rescuer to do everything. And then the rescuer has no self-confidence in their ability to like be loved in any way. And the only way to create that is by rescuing.
Yeah. I add a caveat to that of like the victim mentality on how just like saying the word victim, like that's something that you have to practice saying, because that is such a dirty, dirty word. It is like, even if like the horrible, horrible thing happens to you, you're still not even allowed to say, no, I was a victim of this. It's like, I survived this. Everything is about like, how strong are you? Like survival, like even under all of that. Yeah, but you peril through. There's not space to say that took its toll on me. And that does not make me weak. That makes me a human. The fact that this thing happened does not make me weak, does not make me wrong, does not make me in need of a rescue, even if you needed a rescue. It is okay to have something happen to you in life that knocks you on your ass. I'm not saying that like having things happen are okay and good. I'm saying like if you, because the majority of us have had something traumatic happen, but we will not sit with anything of like, oh, that happened. It is overcoming, like going into that rest. So even just like that victim mentality itself, being allowed to be a victim is said in such a negative way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're such a victim.
Don't ever allow yourself to be a victim.
Exactly. All of these things. So when you have like rescuer, this is your role. Like you're not, this is such a deep dynamic of being like, whoa. Even just say, I was a victim of extreme abuse. That does not mean that I am placing myself in that role, because placing yourself in that role does require
somebody to rescue.
But being like, that's what it was. That happened. And being able to just like be in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of that, if I could be in that moment, would I not need to save and rescue people in that space? Because that's me getting out of that, right? That's so much of me. So when you're rescuing, like, what are you, when you're rescuing others, what are you rescuing yourself from? And there's a healthy part of that. We all need people. But again, it's that dynamic. What energy are you coming from? What energy are you bringing into that? Are you rescuing to save your own life, or are you supporting somebody and finding their strength?
Well, let's not talk about supporting somebody because that's like the healthy version of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Let's not talk about the healthy side of it yet. I think for me too, right? The truth behind being this rescuer or having this rescuer archetype really stems from being a victim.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, so what are you rescuing yourself from?
But I have no awareness of that. up until recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the majority of my life is the avoidant of.
That's right. We're not talking about any of the healthy parts right now.
Where it's like
Sorry.
all this behavior is playing out because I'm really avoiding the core wound of being victimized and experiencing abuse and going through trauma myself and not having, like, the truth of it is, I mean, this dynamic that we're talking about, this archetypal thing that we're discussing, this isn't something that is like unique to us. This is a massively huge role that plays out in society in all sorts of different ways between the masculine and the feminine. And I think the truth of it also lies in, as a child, as an infant, as somebody who is completely helpless, right? You have zero capacity to do anything for yourself. You are 100% reliant upon a parent. So if that, obviously we know this, right?
Yeah.
If that core relationship has any sort of toxicity, abuse, unhealthiness, anything that plays out in that relationship, like if your parent isn't there to rescue you in a healthy way,
If your rescuer is your abuser,
yeah, then good fucking luck.
right?
You're going to repeat that dynamic over and over again. I'm going to spend 40 years of my life avoiding being a victim, right?
Because I know what the rescuer really does.
Whatever.
Right.
Not only do I know what the rescuer really does, but it's like,
So I'm not going to ever need to be rescued.
I'm never going to need to be rescued.
And I'm never going to rescue like that.
Yeah. It's so hard. So trippy.
It's also like your body, like it accepts, like I know we've talked about this before too, but the program of this is what love looks like. So when you're learning that dynamic from a very young age, that this is what love looks like, then it is common to seek out those dynamics, because even though you're like, you can like, this is wrong, but you keep finding yourself in these dynamics.
It's like I said earlier, where I can't even contextually understand what a relationship is supposed to be besides this dynamic. Like, what do you mean there's not a side of it that has to be rescued and a side of it that does the rescuing? I don't understand what that, like my brain, like even right now trying to articulate it intellectually, higher consciousness, I have awareness that, oh yeah, that's not healthy. That comes from all of this stuff that you guys are currently talking about. Truth be told, the healthy version of that in adulthood and even like outside of the scope of maybe 2 years old, as you start to build your own autonomy to care for your own needs and take care of yourself, and you're supported in a loving, healthy way by that caregiver / growing up into your life and eventually finding a partner, right? Yeah. And that's what you and I have been navigating for the last 5 years, in a sense, where trying to offer loving support in the process of each other trying to figure out who the fuck we are,
right?
Instead of just playing these dynamics out over and over and over again.
And we keep like, it's like we're almost like in the kid stage itself. You know how kids will play dress up, like make believe and all these things. Like we're almost like doing that with each other. I can think of through our relationship how many times we've been like, I'm this person. I'm this person. We keep showing up, trying on different things, figuring out who we are with each other. And every time it's scary because we're like, we know, oh, you're not going to love me as this person. You're not going to love me. And the other person's like, no, I still love you. We're still here. We keep like, sometimes like we've done it really unhealthy and we do it really healthy too. Yeah. I mean, we hit the spectrum of what the fuck are you doing? And I don't know what sound that was. And like, damn.
Trying on all
like
these
high
different...
five. Yeah, we keep doing that. But now it's not as, I mean, sometimes it's scary. Sometimes you put on a new outfit and you're like, ooh. But other times it's like, what do you think of this? You know, it's not as nerve-wracking and fearful to be like, oh, this is what I'm going to wear today. This is like, I'm going to see how this outfit fits on me. I'm learning who I am and you're learning who you are.
I really love that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really, really, really love that perspective. And I want us to like push pause on the podcast. Like you and me need to continually remind each other that that's what's happening, right? Like I see Stephanie. I see the beautiful, bright, amazing, like talented, just the light that you are at the core of who you are. I see that person and I love all of her and I love all of you. And because like we have allowed each other into the space of that, seeing that person inside of us, that spark inside of us, right? You have unconditional love for me, which then gives you the freedom to just try on whatever costume you want. Put it on.
Right.
I'm just going to support you. Be like, that's a cool one. That's neat. Oh, that one's a little different.
Right.
Cool. I like it. Let's see where it goes. Yeah, I'm with you, babe.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to wear, whatever you want to put on, whatever you want to try, I'm right there with you. And then vice versa.
Yeah, you get that same love.
See,
You get
that's
that.
hard for me
I know.
to
It was
imagine.
hard for me to hear that and take that.
Because there's a
but
part
it's
of me
like,
that's
yeah.
like, yeah, but if I put on this
Right?
costume.
And it's like you wore that last year. I
Right.
saw that costume. I love you.
Like, how many times were you the same thing for Halloween, right?
Oh my God.
You just
Exactly.
wanted
Right.
to wear your Halloween costume year
I
round.
repeated. Right.
And yeah, let's do that for each other forever.
Me too.
So you just get to be whoever you want to be and try on whatever you want to, for however long.
Yeah.
If you want to put it on for the weekend and be like, yeah, that's not really me. I'll be like, okay,
Right.
seemed like it fit pretty well, but okay. You know,
We see what's underneath the clothes. And that's not because sometimes being nude is the outfit that you're wearing. Sometimes nudist is what you're wearing. But like beyond that, like soul naked.
yeah.
Like we see that. So it doesn't really matter what we dress it up as because we know what's underneath. And that sounds like so like cliche in a sense, but it's not. Like I know what you look like naked, not without clothes on, but I know what you look like naked. And oh my gosh, are you beautiful?
Right.
And I love you so much. And you know what? I look like naked. And to say that though, there is a part of me, because I'm wearing this outfit today, that I hear that and I'm like, because that's also where my wound is. That's also where I think when you know that person,
Mm-hmm.
there's a squirrel on the roof again. Go get the nuts. Go get the nuts. I
Talk
left
about
nuts
squirrel.
out for the squirrels.
Okay. Stay on
I
topic.
know.
This is really
Okay, I was like, it's gonna get the nuts. It's going for them. That's we're talking about core wound and squirrels. Like, I got you. Distraction. Oh, I got the nuts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I will bring you more nuts.
Is it eating them? Or did he stuff them in his cheeks?
No, I can't see.
Okay.
He's just sitting there looking. So can we take a picture?
Yeah, baby.
We'll take a picture.
Let's
Hold
take
on,
a picture.
Hold on. Come on.
Pause, everybody, for this
that selfie.
Beautiful life experience.
Okay. It wasn't meant to be shared. He's climbing down the pole.
Well, he got your peanuts that you left out for him.
No, it's still up there.
You left multiple ones up there. I only see one now.
Does he not like my nuts? I have to get him some more acorns. Okay. Yeah, that hit a core wound where I'm super afraid and thinking that I just need to keep putting these layers on so nobody can actually see that part. Because that is like my core wound, my childhood wound is like that is the part that was violated and that is never enough. So it's really hard for me to think that if you see that, because there's nothing else to mask, right? When you have all these different like outfits or these different masks you can put on, it's like, if you didn't like that, that's okay, because this was a mask. You know, that wasn't really me. So even though if it hurts because I was trying to attach to this, it still isn't really me. So I have that like safety of I'm still protected. But if you are through all of that and that's what you don't like, right? That's instead of being like okay with that, which I'm like, that's cool because, you know, we're not everybody's cup of tea or whatever, but how important you are, right? I'm really getting caught up in my head because this is like, it's hurting. I have pain that's like my heart feels like it's just going to go boom. It hurts so bad into my throat. I'm trying to speak through that because like your physical representation. But that is so hard. That is scary because there's like nothing I can do. And that's also incredibly freeing, right? Because then there's nothing left to do. I don't have to keep a persona up. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be careful of this wall. It's like, okay,
You just get to play dress up.
there it is. Well, no, I'm talking about the core part right now. Like, right? Like I don't have to, it gives me the freedom to play dress up because you see this part. So anything else is my self-expression, is my self-discovery, not me trying to be something for you or for anybody else. So the dress up is just like that complete like discovery of who I am. And I feel safe enough for you to see that. If I still feel safe enough for you to see my core wounds, my core everything, my core threading of me. And that is the hardest thing. And it's the most freeing thing. And that is not like, I'm really happy that we have that dynamic. But my core is not for everybody. And not that it's not like, oh, you won't like it or it's not for everybody. I mean, like, I will not show my core to everybody. There's parts of me that, and I like, that is a reserve thing. I don't need to show everybody that part of me to be like truly enlightened or to really show, like that part is a gift.
Yeah.
I will give my authentic self. I will show up as me, and I will show up as me with different outfits on. Because now what I wear isn't what anybody else wants me to wear. What I wear is what I want to wear. So even if that changes, when you see me, you get authentic me. But my core, that is a gift, and that is reserved for special people. And I don't have to explain that. And I also like, I'm okay if people don't agree with that or judge that. I don't care. Like that's, so how does that
I completely
resonate?
Yeah, I completely resonate. I'm excited at this awareness.
I don't think I exhaled. Ooh, back to breath awareness.
I'm excited that we get to, like, I don't know if we've ever necessarily articulated this in our relationship, but that idea that you just get to be you now.
And you just get to be you.
Right? And whatever you're trying on the day, the week, the month, the year, the decade,
Yep.
it's all okay.
Yeah.
I get to love it. I choose to.
Yeah.
Like, because I see you.
Yeah.
I hope that frees us up. Like, there's a part of me that wants to.
Are you going to test it?
No, I don't want to test it. Like, there's a part of me that's like, baby, do you hear these words?
That I'm saying?
Like, you get to be whoever you are.
Yeah.
Right? You get to try on whatever you want to try on. You get to exist in this beautiful world that we've created together, however you want to exist in this world. Like, I'm so excited in the hopes that you will hear that.
Yeah.
And then I can feel your resistance.
It's because you know my core threads.
And I also have the same resistance where I'm
Yeah.
like, I know you're like, Craig, do you hear this? I need to, feel free to. And I'm like, yeah, but there's definitely parts of me that you don't like, but they're not those. That's my fear, right? The fear is there's parts of me that you don't like. That reality is like there's costumes that we will put on sometimes that we think are like the scary costumes to scare people away because we're covering up this core trauma wound of shame and guilt and like, again, the low self-esteem, no self-esteem. So I will put on this costume that will eliminate that, right?
Yeah.
But even those scary costumes, I think you are learning to recognize as scary costumes, and you still love and value the guy underneath it. So it's good stuff, babe.
Another, like, just one more layer deep on that just like really came to is I also quit trying to guess what you wanted me to wear. Right? And feeling like I can't fit into that, or trying to make myself fit into that at any means necessary. Like, this is what, like, feeling like I knew what you wanted me to wear and worrying about that, as opposed to just being like,
this is what I'm wearing today.
this is what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Right?
I feel like, again, I have to wear the rescuer costume.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to love me. So if I'm not fixing or finding things for you, or like, you're like, nothing's broken. Oh, I'll break it. And then I have to fix it. Like, I'm the only one that can fix this thing. What do you mean this thing? That thing I broke? That thing over there? that wasn't broken to start with. Well, it is now. What are you going to do? Looks like you only have me to fix it. So there's
and then get mad if I say, I think this needs to be fixed, and it's not something. So you're like, it's fine.
Right.
It doesn't need to be fixed.
Exactly.
I'm like, I think it does. I think I need to.
That's totally what I've done. I'll break things in our relationship, so then I have to fix them and be the hero.
Yeah.
Can you see that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't.
Me neither.
But that, I'm like, woo, I'm going to have to ponder on that one for a little while.
Yeah, that's another 2-hour podcast if we get
Right.
into that. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
This is like, hopefully you've resonated if you're listening, and this correlates in some way, shape, or form to your relationship, because this is definitely like hitting all sorts of different things for us in our relationship. So, okay, let's move on to a segment at the end of the episode where we answer listener questions.
Ooh, yeah.
Here comes the segment intro music.
Let me pull it up.
I wish we had something. Should we? Maybe I'll make something where we can push play and have a intro to this Q&A segment of the podcast. I will talk about it every time that we do it from henceforth, and then never do it. It'll always just be the cluster of like, here's that segment.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I've just begun my healing journey, and everyone is saying that you have to learn to love yourself before you can love someone else. Does this mean I shouldn't be in a relationship?
That's a good question. It's one that I think comes up all the time in a bunch of different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to get your shit together before you can be in a healthy relationship? Or better yet, should you? Like, I think there's that belief out there as well, or that like people will say that, right? Where don't even bother being in a relationship until you've worked on yourself and you've gotten your stuff together. Then you can finally be in a relationship.
Right. And then when you're already in a relationship and hear that, feel like you're just the problem. You shouldn't even be in that relationship.
I heard
because
that
you're like
so many times in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I remember very clearly getting to a point in our relationship where I'm like, I might need to end this relationship because my toxic behaviors are becoming too great and too many. And apparently, from what I'm taking in from the outside world, the only way that I'm going to heal those things is if I really dive deep into myself. And I can't do that if I'm in a relationship.
do that in a relationship. And
like I even went through periods of time, babe, where I thought maybe we'll just separate. Like we'll just put this relationship on hold, you know, for 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
Because that's all it would take.
Right? Fine.
I'll fix all my shit in 6 months.
6 months. Here we go. Right. And then make you feel bad too. Like, oh, I don't really love you. They're telling me that I'm not even worthy of love. The love that I feel isn't even real.
Yeah. It's not true love.
Yeah.
Or it's not even like, you know, you can't really truly love somebody until you've learned to love yourself.
When you have somebody that's over you saying you aren't doing enough, you're not loving enough, you're not doing it the way that I think it should look. So I'm going to tell you that you aren't even able to love anybody, that the way that you love is wrong, that you're not even loving somebody. Like, let's just sit with how that feels for a minute.
I think it feels great. So the answer to this question is like unequivocally no. Yeah. No, you do not need to do that. No, you don't need to get all of your shit together. No, you don't need to learn to love yourself before you can love somebody else. If you're in a relationship, you don't have to end that relationship.
Just
work on yourself.
Just because you started healing.
Right. And then like hurling. If you're a curler and you've started curling, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Is that an option?
Of course.
Right?
Is it an excuse to keep being toxic and being like, what? I don't have to do my healing. No, it's not.
Like if you're not in a relationship right now, would I recommend working on yourself? Absolutely.
Yes.
So then when you find a relationship or start a relationship,
you're coming into it with a deeper understanding of yourself, more balance, that you are bringing a version of yourself that you want to be bringing into the next relationship. And you have an understanding of like what you have your sense of self when you're moving into that.
All of that's beautiful.
So beautiful.
And all of that's great. Like definitely do that.
Yeah.
And if you're in a relationship, definitely continue to work towards that.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to stop the relationship. And the reality of it is too, is if you are like, if you just heal all your wounds, if you just make peace with all your trauma, if you just get all the therapy and you spend 6 months, because that's all it takes.
6 months to a year. Like maybe you're one of those year people.
If you heal all of your stuff and then you start dating somebody and getting into a relationship with them, you will immediately, not immediately, sometimes it takes 6 months to a year, but you will uncover all sorts of beautiful things that you didn't have awareness of.
Right.
Because that's what relationships do. So it kind of doesn't matter, like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Should you heal your shit and then get into a relationship, or should you get into a relationship and then heal your shit?
Don't wait to be like, I need to find a relationship before I'm even going to consider looking at my shit.
How funny would that be?
Like, hey, you want to date? Because like, I need to fuck you up before I start.
Like,
We're
that's
not saying
the
that
first
either.
date. What's your favorite color? No, I'm not really interested in that.
Right.
I just want you to know I've got a bunch of baggage.
Right. I need a mirror. So
Yeah. This, like, are you going to help me see my avoidant attachment style? Let's go there.
this shit's heavy. I want you to like.
Exactly. Does that sound like something you're in for? Cool.
All right,
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do this.
Do you want to work on that before? Nope, I don't actually. I'm aware of it. I'm not working on any
Right.
of it. Saving this shit for a relationship.
So we're not saying that either.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whether you do it before, during, after, just do it.
Yeah. Wherever you are,
Be there.
be there. Exactly. Like there's like, is now the perfect time to start working on yourself and
Yes.
wherever you are? Yes. And if you didn't do it now and you think about this later, is that now the perfect time? Like every now changes.
Yeah.
What was now 1 second ago is no longer now. That's already like, you are always in that moment of where, like you were saying, like, be here. It is time. You don't have to wait. I mean, you can, right? If you're like really a caveat, right? If you're like, I'm a very violent person, should I wait? Okay, I'm going to say yes to that one.
Sure.
I'm going to say yes to that one.
Get some of those anger issues under
Right?
control.
Like there's things that you do not. And I feel like in your soul, you don't want to perpetuate onto somebody. But if you are showing up and you are trying and you're like, oh, and now you're telling me that because I don't have self-worth, that I'm not even worthy of being in this relationship because I'm not loving enough. That sounds like some toxic, abusive shit to say to somebody. Like you're showing up, you're doing your best, and you're like, I need help. I have healing to do. I'm learning all these things about myself. And be like, yeah, you're not like, no, like show up, love yourself and keep going. Every step, everything that you are doing, like every act of love does not, what am I going with this? Let me feel this a little bit more. Hold on. Dang it, I think it's lost. I think I got stuck in the weeds. What happened is I saw a look on your face and I felt judged. And you didn't do anything wrong. That's all my shit in my head. But I lost that train of thought. So if it comes back, I'll do, but I'm not going to make you sit here and wait while I pause in my like, I got triggered.
I think just to...
my self-worth got triggered. I don't know what I was saying.
I think just to answer the question, it's like, no, right? Start working on yourself wherever you're at, regardless of whether you're in a relationship. And it's not even more ideal or an easier path or a better way to do something. Like it's not, there's no way to know whether if you heal yourself now, does that mean your next relationship is going to be all that much more beautiful? Because like we said earlier, it's going to bring up things regardless of the type of, even if you bring two perfectly healed people together, that is going to bring up something for them to internalize and look at and process.
So perfect healing doesn't exist.
Exactly. And like the perfect time or the perfect place, all of these things, like if you just continue to wait to do these things, that's just going to prolong the inevitable. So
you'll be waiting for everything. And don't also feel like that if you've made this decision that you can't change it. Like everything is changing always. Everything is temporary. So if you're in the supermarket or Walmart, whatever, and that mop, you're not stuck. Like you get to grow and evolve. And that does not mean looking at people and relationships as disposable. It's totally not what I'm saying. That's another like, no. But realizing that where you are now, you get to be that fully. You get to love and learn to love yourself, and you're still loving other people. You get to show up in that, and things get to change. Your mindset gets to change. How you feel about yourself and other people, it changes. It gets to grow. It gets to alter, change. Like, change doesn't always mean depletion and lacks. People get really stuck in the fact that if this changes, that means I'm losing something. And can it mean that? Of course. But it always, like, it balances out. Something else comes, something else, like, I guess we'll just sum it up. No, that does not mean you have to be in a relationship. Like you said, no, It doesn't mean that you can't be in a relationship now. No, it doesn't mean that you need to end your relationship now. And it can mean that maybe you should wait, and maybe the relationship that you're in isn't one that you're going to pursue any further.
Yeah. It means all those things and more.
Listen to you, not what other people are telling you you should and shouldn't do. Except for that part right there. Listen to me on that one.
This also, I think, speaks very highly to, like, what was coming up for me as we were talking about this was, this is super prevalent in the self-help community and the spiritual community. Like, this idea that, like, even just like the criticism of looking at, not even criticism, but like looking at somebody, like if you have somebody that's going to come to you and want to be in a relationship, rather than asking them what their favorite color is, like, have you healed all of your inner childhood traumas? Are you aware of all your shadow? Otherwise, I don't want to be in this relationship with you. Like, that's fine to set that as a boundary for yourself and to kind of view the world like that. But truth be told, you fucking haven't.
Right?
You haven't fucking healed all of that shit. Because this is what I believe. And I hope there's people out there that disagree with me. And if they do, that's great. You can email us at fakeemailadress.com. No. There is always going to be something that you can't see. And that's what happens in relationships. If you're consciously working on it together, you have the ability to see my shadow. And you get to you have the ability to see the parts of my shadow that I cannot see. No matter how hard I try, no matter how much therapy I go to, no matter how many self-help books I've read, no how many podcasts, there is just simply parts of my shadow that I cannot see. And there's parts of my shadow that my therapist can't see. And there's parts of my shadow that my best friend can't see. Like, there is simply part of my shadow that my intimate, close partner that I open up to is the only person that can see, right? Just because of the dynamics of how things work. So there is work that is always going to take place in a relationship. And if you sit around and wait for the perfect partner, or if you think you're the perfect partner and you're not going to, like, I've healed all of my stuff and I'm going to sit around and wait until I meet that person, you're going to have a long, beautiful life by yourself because there isn't anybody that is in that role. There isn't anybody that has healed everything, just because that's just not the way that it works. Right?
Yeah.
So you almost do you have to be in a relationship? Of course not. But there is always going to be something revealed in your relationships that wouldn't be revealed otherwise. So there's, I would dare say, levels of healing that can take place only within a close, intimate relationship. And I think it not has to be. It's all varying degrees, right? You can have a close, intimate relationship with somebody that doesn't involve sex, that doesn't involve any sort of physical connection. That's going to reveal some things. And getting closely, intimately, sexually involved with somebody is going to deliver an aspect of your shadow that can only be seen by that person. So, anything else you want to add real quick? Real quick. If you want to send us questions, you can do so. It's info@energyislove.love. And you can email them to us, or if you follow us anywhere on social, you can just message us those questions and reach out. We love answering these questions. Yeah. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's something new that we've started for this year. So feel free to reach out with anything. Maybe something came up for you on this episode that you want us to elaborate on, or you want our take on. And we will answer it on next week's episode. Yeah. Don't be shy that we'll give your name out too. If you want us to say who this question is from, you have to state that in your email or message wherever. Otherwise, we're not giving out your information. Exactly. So otherwise, it's just anonymous. Yeah. So you can put it out there. And anonymous. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you guys next week.